Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Chat. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen, and this week we are discussing 2025 in TNA Wrestling. Yes, total non-stop action wrestling. And yes, it's a new year, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, and my question to you guys is, do you think this is going to be the breakout year for TNA Wrestling? Do you think they could finally get in the game and get in the ring and compete with AEW and WWE and all that? Or at least become a super solid number 3, which right now they're kind of a distant number 3. And you could even probably debate that they're number 3. You could say maybe, maybe NWA or maybe MLW or maybe New Japan. It's kind of a little bit debatable. I think TNA is number 3, but it's by a long shot. Anyway, I pose that question to you guys. Give me your thoughts in the comments below. I'd really be interested in hearing what you guys think. And I'm going to obviously give my thoughts in this video of what I see and what I'd like to see in the future this year. Before I do that, though, we have to reflect back on 2024, which was a great year for TNA Wrestling. It showed a lot of growth. I feel like they grew in leaps and bounds in 2024. It did start out with some positive buzz, but as what happens a lot of times with TNA Wrestling, with good comes bad, because right off the bat, when we started off January, Hard to Kill, we had a great pay-per-view. We got the big change from Impact Wrestling to TNA Wrestling. Everyone was excited for that. And then, bam, right away we heard that the president of TNA Wrestling, Scott D'Amore, was fired. And everybody was all up in arms about that. Oh, my God, I can't believe this. He got them this far. Why are they letting them go now? And as things went along, when we found out a little bit more about kind of what happened behind the scenes and things, it seemed a little more clear that things were not quite what they seemed with Scott D'Amore. It seems like he might even be the guy that was holding them back a little bit. But Anthem wanted to go forward with someone who has a vision for the future and wants to see the company grow, where they felt he was kind of keeping them stagnant and complacent and happy with where they are, and that's a bad thing, because I want to see TNA grow, and I've been hoping that for years, and I feel like we finally started to get that in 2024, which was great, because we started seeing better crowds, we started seeing bigger crowds, and we started seeing TNA take some chances here and there and book some venues that are a little bit bigger, that hold a little more people, and, they were filling them up, and they were selling them out left and right, so it was like great positive buzz for TNA Wrestling. And, of course, we had the working relationship between WWE and TNA, which was really cool seeing them. We saw, Jordan Grace show up at the Royal Rumble as the TNA Knockouts champion, which was really awesome. And that kind of got the ball rolling. Then later on we saw her showing up at NXT and challenging the women's champion, Roxana Perez. That was great. And then we started seeing some other stars from TNA. We saw Joe Hendry come in, and he was just over as all hell, as he's been over as all hell in TNA. He also went over huge in NXT as well. And that was great to see. And we saw Frankie Kazarian there. We saw Rosemary make several appearances, and teaming up with teaming up as a tag team there. And that was really great to see too. Seeing Rosemary in NXT, and she did a great job. And we started seeing some of the NXT people over in TNA Wrestling showing up in TNA Wrestling, like Charlie Dempsey and people like that. It was really cool. really cool to see that it was a working relationship and it went both ways and things were going really well. Now that seems to, at this point, to have cooled off, and I'm not sure whether that relationship is over for now, and maybe in the future we might do some more work with them, or if it's just kind of a done deal right now, but it seems to have cooled off a bit, so we haven't seen any interaction lately between NXT and TNA Wrestling, but we'll see what happens, you know. But I think that worked out well for both companies. I think it brought great buzz to NXT, because NXT had been kind of struggling before that. But I think that brought a lot of buzz to them, and they got great ratings for that. And it certainly helped TNA bring in some bigger crowds and all that. The positive buzz worked for TNA big time, especially for Jordynne Grace's career. It made her become a huge star all around the world in professional wrestling. Everybody knows who Jordynne Grace is now because of her work in TNA and in NXT. And what is 2025 going to look like? Are we going to see more of that? I certainly hope so. Now, as far as the production value goes as well, I think huge changes were made in 2024, because that had been the whole problem with the Impact Wrestling era, is production value was always really spotty, you know. I felt like the show was always solid, and we always got great wrestling and good storylines and great talent, but the production value would really kill me sometimes, you know, like the audio issues, and they keep having the same issues over and over, but I guess that was a lot of Scott D'Amore's people, because ever since they've gotten rid of a lot of Scott D'Amore's crew and stuff, things seem to have gotten a lot better. And it seems like Anthem, the company that runs TNA, is starting to invest more money into the production and booking bigger venues and everything. They clearly want the company to grow. They're not just happy with TNA being the developmental for WWE and AEW, which is what it kind of has been in the Impact Wrestling era. They want to see it grow and be its own entity and its own power, you know, in the wrestling world, and I think that's great. And that's what I want to see more of in 2025. Don't just be happy being number 3. Strive to be bigger. Strive to compete. Strive to get in the ring and be a powerful force in professional wrestling. And that's what I want to see big time. Now, towards the end of 2024, we have been hearing some stuff like contracts are ending, like, and there's going to be a lot of people leaving TNA Wrestling, or so they say. At least the contracts are due to expire, but of course, that doesn't mean they can't re-sign with the company. We just saw that AJ Francis re-signed with TNA, so how do we know that Jordynne Grace isn't going to re-sign with TNA? How do we know that Josh Alexander isn't going to re-sign with TNA? Maybe they might get a good deal and want to stay, you know. Because, you know, what is Josh Alexander going to do? You think he's going to get over in AEW? I don't know. Do you think he would go to WWE? I don't know. But I think he would certainly have a great future if he stayed with TNA. You know, he's been doing a great job, you know. So many great matches that he's had in TNA Wrestling. I feel like TNA is a good place for him, you know. I don't know why he needs to leave. So I hope some of these people do stay around, and yes, at the same time, I do want to see some new talent come in as well. Like, people have said, no, I don't want to see him come in, but I honestly want to see Baron Corbin come in to TNA. I think he would do a great job, because I think he's really talented. I think he would do some great things in TNA, especially with his character work. The guy is talented, you know, he does great character work. Big, huge guy, very imposing. I think he would be great on the screen in TNA Wrestling. I really do. But, you know, that's just my opinion. And Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that could. I think there's a lot of women that could come in. Honestly, I would love to see Deonna Purrazzo come back, but I don't think that's gonna happen because she's doing fairly well in AEW, I guess. But we'll see. But she would be my biggest pick to come back. And I would love to see some people come in from WWE and AEW. I'd love to see Camille come in from AEW because she debuted in AEW and she just kind of fizzled away. They didn't do anything with her. So I think if she came to TNA Wrestling, she could be great. Just like she was in NWA. Who else would I like to see? I'd love to see Mickie James come back and have another run. We definitely got to do something about the Knockouts division because that was kind of a bad part of TNA in 2024 because they lost a lot of people early on with Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie and all that. They lost a lot of people. They lost Trinity. She went back to WWE as Naomi once again, and she's doing great over there, So that hurt. And, and apparently we might be losing Joy and Grace, and that's a huge loss. They got to do something to cover that loss. And they are bringing in Tessa Blanchard back, so that was a decision that didn't sit well with some people, but I'm kind of excited. I'm very curious to see how that's going to work out. I know she has kind of burned TNA in the past, and there was some comments that she had made. It kind of was a situation similar to what happened with Hulk Hogan and the comments that he made in his video, and he got in big trouble for that. And same thing kind of happened with Tessa Blanchard, only she hasn't come out and come forward and apologized for her actions. So a lot of people are pissed about that, and they're not ready to have her back. But nevertheless, TNA is ready to have her back because she's back. And it appears that she's going to have a big feud with Jordynne Grace. And I'm very interested to see that because I do think that Tessa Blanchard is very talented. Really strong, really tough, and great wrestler, and she's got the charisma. So I'm willing to forgive her. I'm willing to give her a second chance. I don't know about you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about what do you think about Tessa Blanchard coming back into TNA and how that's going to work out. Because she is going to be on this week's episode of Impact. She's going to make her big return to TNA Impact this week, so I'm very curious. So it's definitely going to be an interesting year because they've got a lot of bigger venues booked, so they are swinging for the fences, especially the UBS Arena in New York, Belmont, New York, is going to be the arena for Slammiversary, and that is a huge venue, and that's going to be, if they can sell that place out, that would be huge. That'll be one of the biggest shows they've ever had, and I think it is going to be one of the biggest shows they've ever had, so let's hope they can pack that place up and sell it out and have an awesome show with some great debuts and great matches. I'm psyched, I'm really psyched about that. I'm curious to see who the big new signees are going to be because they have said that there's going to be some new people coming in. And we got the Hardys who re-signed as well, and they've been doing great. They've been putting asses in the seats, and they're just like rock stars. Everybody loves them. A lot of people go there to see the Hardys, and they're killing it right now. And I think their first big pay-per-view coming up in January, Genesis, which we haven't seen Genesis in quite a while, so I think they need to set the standard right there with Genesis. They need to kick it off, and they need to really have a big show for Genesis to set the tone for how it's going to be this year, to show that they really mean business. And I think they do, And we saw that they got a big deal, a big TV deal in Canada. So that was great news. They they took over Sportsnet, which used to have WWE on it. So that's great news. So now all we need is a big television deal in the U.S. I feel like if that happens, we're golden, you know. That's going to be amazing, you know. That's going to be huge because nobody watches Access TV, let's face it. I mean, they've been stuck on Access TV for so long now, and it's never going to get any bigger. They're never going to get any better ratings than they get right now, no matter what they do, because they're stuck on this small little channel that way down on the cable dial, you know. Some people don't even get that channel, you know. So they have to get on a better television deal in the U.S. if they really want to get in the ring, because they're doing things so well. They're getting bigger crowds, they're getting bigger interest in the product, and they got the television deal in Canada. You know, all we need is that U.S. TV deal, and that would just be the icing on the cake. That would mean we're off to the races, you know, because you know they're going to have a great product, because that's one thing they've always had is great product. I shouldn't say they've always had a great product, but for a long time they've had a steady, consistent product and a great show for a long time. Now, previous years they've had, you know, the big problem has been the production value and the audio quality, and even early on when they were working with NXT, it was like, oh, you go over to TNA and they kind of have rough production values, but then, you know, if they go over to TNA, they're going to be like, oh, what is this? We have so much better production quality in NXT, so I feel like they're finally starting to get to the NXT level with the production value, especially at the Bound for Glory show. That looked great, you know. I want to see more of that in 2025. Bound for Glory production value was perfect, you know. It looked great, it looked colorful, they had a big crowd of over 3,000 people, it looked great on TV, you could see all the fans, it was colorful, great action, great matches as always. That was a great show, Bound for Glory. I feel like that really was the best pay-per-view of the year. Now, Slammiversary last year had like 4,000 people, but you could barely see them. The lights were so dim and dark, and the colors were so bland. But that happened in like the middle of the year. So by the end of the year, we've been having some great production value on the Impact show and on the Impact Plus pay-per-views, as well as the big pay-per-views like Bound for Glory. Have been great, you know. With the exception of Orlando, that one Orlando taping that they did in 2024, it was like rough. I was like, oh man, you're killing me. Going back to this, it looked like an Impact Wrestling era show. It was like, no, it was all condensed in the small venue with like 300 people again. I was like, ah. But thank God, I think that was just a one-time deal. I hope they never ever go back to the Skyway Studios in Orlando, because that's just looks so small time, you know. We need to keep on pace with what we've been doing, you know. What's been working so well in 24 needs to work even better in 2025. So, and I think we're certainly on the right track. So, I also think that I would like to see Nick Nemeth stay with TNA. I know a lot of people saying, oh, he's going to be out of here, he's going to go back to WWE, he's going to go to AEW. I don't think so. I think he's going to stay around a while, because I think he's surprised a lot of people by staying as long as he has. He's been there for almost a year now. And I think the reception has been great. I think he's done a great job. He's put some asses in the seat. He's bringing a lot of eyes to TNA Wrestling. I think he's done a great job. And I've never been a huge fan of Dolph Ziggler or whatever, but I think he's really made a name for himself in TNA Wrestling, honestly. And I think he's had a great run as champion. I think he is like the fighting champion, and I think I want to see more of it, you know? I know Joe Hendry is probably eventually going to win the TNA Championship, and rightfully so. He deserves it. He's done a great job. He's so over with the fans. I mean, he has to win it at some point, right? But then you got guys like Mike Santana kicking at his heels. And he's super over with the fans, and he does a great job. He does great promo work. He's got great mic skills. He's got great in-ring skills. I really like Mike Santana. He had a great year last year. Also, Frankie Kazarian. He's a legend of TNA Wrestling, calls himself the king of TNA. I want to see him become the champion this year, because I think he'd be great. I think he'd be a great heel champion, great bad guy champion. I want to see it. I think he's going to do great. So, right there, you got several guys that are going to do great. I think we might see more of JBL in TNA, going forward. I think we are going to see him have some matches in TNA. I think he's going to be a real presence in TNA, We'll see, though, But I would like to see that, because I see that he's been working out real hard in the gym. He's getting jacked, I think he looks good, and I would like to see him make a little comeback, and, I think that would be something that the fans would be really excited about. So, that's some of the things I want to see in 2025. What do you guys think? Yeah, I would like to see some new stars. We definitely need to, like I said, beef up that Knockouts division big time. We need Knockouts tag teams desperately. We only have 2 Knockouts tag teams. I also want to see Rosemary rise to the top, because I think she was the best improved talent in TNA last year. She just killed it. I think she's such a legend of TNA and Impact Wrestling, and I think she's doing her best work ever. So I think she deserves to be Knockouts champion this year. So she has been rising up in the ratings. She has been going up the ranks. So I would like to see her be a Knockouts champion. And Masha Slamovich has been doing a great job, and I'm pretty sure that Ash by Elegance and Heather by Elegance are probably going to win the Knockouts Tag Team Championship at some point, and that's fine. That's cool. I like them. I know some people have not been impressed with Ash by Elegance, but I like her work. I think she's a great character. She's beautiful, she brings the elegance to TNA Wrestling, the eye candy. And I don't have any problem with that. You got Zaya Brookside's great, but yeah, severely lacking in the tag team division for the Knockouts, big time. And I want to see some singles competitors as well, some new stars coming into the Knockouts division. As for the men's division, I don't think we really need much. We got great stars as it is, We don't really need too many. I could see a couple more, like a Baron Corbin come in, and maybe some more with JBL, see what's going on with that. We don't really need too many, but if we lose Josh Alexander, I think we definitely do need somebody, because he's a huge asset to TNA, definitely. So yeah, I think there's bigger and brighter things ahead for 2025, and I do think it's going to be a breakout year for them. Maybe not to the level of AEW, but I think by the end of the year, they're going to be in that position to finally start competing with AEW, if they get that new television deal in the U.S. But I think it's going to be a big year of growth for TNA Wrestling. Huge. And I love to see it. I want to see those crowds sell out. I want to see all these arenas sell out so they can keep on booking more and more big venues. I want to see them come to Boston. They haven't been to Boston in, 15 years? When was the last time they came to Boston? I want to see them come to Boston and have a big sellout crowd and have a big pay-per-view in Boston. So, if you listen to TNA Wrestling, come to Boston. We love you, and we want to see you here in Boston. So, have a big pay-per-view event in Boston. Enough is enough. Alright guys, that's it for 2025 in TNA Wrestling. And thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, in the Pro Wrestling Chat. Tune in and lock up.